So our next session, we wanted to build on this theme about automation, about efficiency, about stuff like that. And this session that you're about to listen to was probably one of the most liked in our previous conference as well. And so I would love to welcome on stage Molly Simons, Vice President, Precision Activation at Merge, and Heather Chevalley, Vice President Growth at Fluency, to really talk about how automation can help streamline operations and deliver better results, probably with lesser resources.
Please welcome Molly Simons and Heather Chevalley.
Is this on? Oh, it is. Hi, I'm Heather. It's Molly.
Hi.
Is that us? No. All right. Well, that's a good way to start.
Exciting.
Thanks, 4As, for having us. I love coming to Boston. Molly and I prepared extra last night at the Hong Kong, so don't mind us. We were in bed by midnight.
We've saved the last 3.5 minutes for you to do.
She
back,
has.
So.
Well, I thought you were going to do Mr. Brightside.
Well,
okay.
We're going.
So I'm very fortunate to have one of our customers join us here today to talk about Merge's journey into automation with us here at Fluency. But before we start with Molly, I'm going to kind of set the table on what we do, why we do it, and then have her talk a little bit about their journey to this point and where they're going from here. So I don't know if you guys know this, but October 23rd, 2000 is when Google launched paid ads. And since then, how we deliver them has really been mostly unchanged, right? It's still a lot of humans moving a lot of data manually, takes a lot of time. Not the funnest job, likely. I don't know about you guys, but copying and pasting all day doesn't sound like something I want to do, which is why I'm in sales. But it's so interesting to me because we work in this industry of advertising where it seems like ad types, creatives, everything is moving at the speed of light, but we're still very much archaically delivering them through clicks and fat fingering zeros and putting the wrong line of the copy with the wrong creative and still having to write credits back to our customers. So, and in addition to that, right, the more you scale, the more complex it gets. So back when it was just delivering Google Ads, that was pretty easy. But then you get into compliance requirements. Now you have 1,000 different ad types. You have more channels. And the challenge is your teams are drowning. And maybe along the way, you've got a few scripts running. Maybe you've bought a few point solutions to try to make their job easier. But you've made manual maybe easier, but we haven't really found true automation at scale, right? So that is what we do at Fluency. We take our customers on a journey of saying, you hire people that you call strategists, but you don't treat them like strategists, right? We treat them as taskmasters. How do we take those people from doing low-level task work that really doesn't use their brain, and how do we create an environment where they can work and do their best work, do strategy, grab that good idea bucket that they all have on their desk and A/B test and think of ways to make the advertising more performant and less trying to keep their head above water because they're worried about overspend. They're worrying about, is the creative from last month, has that been taken down and the new one has gone up, right? That's their life. We want them to think about how to make the advertising better. And that's what we do. We provide an end-to-end platform at Fluency that is really the orchestration and activation layer. And what we do is we take our little talons at Fluency and we reach into all of your systems inside of your agency, whatever those might be that are required for your team to deliver those ads. So that could be sheets, that could be a creative dam, that might be ERP data that needs to go back into the system from the end publishers, location data, audiences, whatever it is, we automate the picking up of that data, and then through automation and some AI, we assemble all those ads. So your team, instead of manually moving all of it, is just doing some QA. Then once we release those ads out into the wild, we're able to monitor those, automate changes, make recommendations on budget reallocation, and all the things that someone's normally looking for, those 5% of the problems that may or may not exist, we surface those. So we have a much more proactive approach to the advertising and less of a reactive, oh shit, something's overspending or something's wrong. So that's what we do. And we're moving more and more towards, everyone's talking about Agentic today, moving towards Agentic, where at some point here with Fluency, you'll be able to have a digital workforce that your team has actually working on their behalf to do all those daily tasks of the advertising management. So I met Molly 3 years ago now. It's been a long time. She decided to come on this journey with us, and when we were ready to get started, she went on maternity leave.
I did. Sorry about that.
It wasn't. So what I love about Molly and Merge is she's going to tell you the good, the bad, and the ugly, because automation is a journey, and I love the last slide. A gentleman had a couple before, and it's not a crawl, walk, run. It's a crawl. It's a teeter. It's a pull yourself up on the table, then maybe take a few steps and fall down. And they've been definitely on that journey with us. So now that I set the table,
Yeah.
let's talk a little bit about what your goals were.
So, gosh, it seems really loud right there. I'll start with kind of the problem we were trying to solve. We, over several years, I've been at Merge for almost 9 years now, probably right around the time Heather and I started talking, we had really reached a critical mass in terms of account managers, the volume that they could support. Over the past decade, we've seen search turn into search, but also Performance Max, but also Demand Gen, but also YouTube. And as our portfolio grew, so did the scale of each account that individual strategists were managing. And we had to find a way to kind of eliminate that constant drumbeat that Heather described of, is my account overpacing? Is my account underpacing? Did I set the daily budgets? Did Google take liberties with my daily budget? I think everybody probably who's ever been hands on keyboard has experienced that in Google Ads. And we didn't go searching for or chasing automation. We went chasing sanity. We also needed sort of an enterprise level view into what is the health of our accounts from a pacing perspective, from a enablement perspective, what campaigns are being disapproved, what campaigns are serving outside their target geo. I needed to be able to see that as a leader without jumping into 100 different accounts. And Fluency, after shopping around a bit, after thinking about do we build it, do we buy it, Fluency really offered that. So we started from the search aspect. And that was really how we built the foundation. And once we got the search and the pacing in a good place, then we started to bring in other channels. And so we started to look at Meta. We started to integrate the trade desk, so we had that kind of holistic view. But what it didn't do was, replicate our client-facing dashboards. It didn't replace those, but it enabled us, especially with the custom notifications, to just have our finger on the pulse without being like crazy micromanaging our individual people, and it freed their time up to do the work that's more fun.
I want to talk a little bit about the change management piece. Because I think one of the hardest things about adopting automation, whether it's with a company like Fluency or if you're building your own automation in-house or you're using someone else, is the biggest challenge to making this change is that your teams have been delivering ads and trafficking ads the same way since October 23rd, 2000. And the hardest part is getting your team on board. And what I love about the Merge story is that we had some very strong opinions
Some of them are in this room.
about how they deliver ads, because that is what they're great at, right? That's what they built their career on, and it's a challenge we see with every agency we talk to, is how do you get your team really to lean into doing a job they've done for so long differently?
Yeah. I'm glad you brought that up. I think last time we did this talk, I said change management 5 times. And so we get it out of the way, like change management. It was, it was a challenge. And Heather joked earlier that we signed the contract and the next day I went out on maternity leave. And I love my family, and I love Fluency. Had I known it was going to play out like that, I probably would have done it differently, though, because change management sort of 101 is you have to have kind of constant communication, and you have to be able to tell and retell the why behind behind the action, and also create sort of a safe environment for folks to not stumble through it necessarily, but work through it on their own time. And I didn't have that opportunity. So I came back from maternity leave, and I think that, I had to reinsert myself into the process and re-educate on the why. But we got there. I think, what worked for us was really clearly communicating that people weren't going to be automated out of their jobs. They were going to be automated out of the parts of their jobs they didn't like, but they were still needed. And not only were they needed to do the work, but they were needed to be part of the sort of digital transformation and the evolution of our agency, so that we could make their lives better and make our clients' lives better. And once they saw the benefit of that, we created a safe environment. Things got a lot smoother, and Fluency really helped us communicate that. I think we take for granted as leaders that folks have built their careers on being really meticulous, hands-on operators, and that's an identity shift for them. And so, the change has been powerful, and it's exciting, especially now that we're taking it to the next level of automation, which is not just the pacing, not just the budget management, but the whole campaign creation. We're doing the unglamorous work of structuring our data in a way that is, transferable across our portfolio, where we're, I don't want to say templatizing, but creating really strong frameworks and shortening our time into market. And when folks start to see that in action, like, that's when the magic happens. And that's when they say, oh, I had a little bit of extra time to think about something today, to use my brain. And I think they're feeling really empowered.
That's awesome. The data management piece, I think that's another really important thing for you all to think about if you're thinking about automation is you cannot automate an email. You cannot automate what's between someone's ears. So structured data inside of your 4 walls, and this goes for AI applications as well, right? If you don't have good data for AI to operate on top of as a foundation, as well as automation, it's kind of garbage in, garbage out. So talk to me a little bit about the exercise that you guys have been going through as far as getting your data in order. Like, where did you start, and where are you in that kind of process?
Yeah, we're sort of in that process right now. Paid search in particular, I will put Meta and the programmatic executions in there as well. They're digital tactics, and they are very scientific, but they are artistic too. And I think everybody's individual ways of working in those platforms vary significantly. So while we had really clear processes in place, really clear templates and workbooks out the wazoo for ad copy and keywords and negative keywords, it's shifted from practitioner to practitioner and from client to client. And everyone says, oh, well, we have to do it this way because the client needs it this way. And so what started as a really streamlined approach, or what we put into practice hoping would turn into a streamlined approach, would still splinter off into bespoke setups for each of our clients. And so we're really trying to get away from that, get back to basics, and have this structured format that is really the ultimate source of truth for all of our campaign execution. So we're getting to a place where we have all of our campaign information in one document, in one foundational data source. And we can not only create the campaigns from there, monitor the campaigns from the Fluency platform, but if we have to make a quick change, if a hospital we're working with starts to want to call themselves a health system or something like that, we're not re-trafficking 1,800 ads. We are changing the source of truth document, and it's doing the work for us. And more importantly, or sometimes it's QAing the work for us too, which is a huge help. So we're in that journey now, and we've been working with the Fluency team, and they've spent a lot of time with us sorting through the piles of unstructured data that we have, and we're really, really excited about the next level, because I think I'm really excited about it, because we're kind of getting this control center together that used to really be siloed.
So would you say the structuring of the data is helping you really have a system of record for your advertising?
Yeah, I would say that. I would also say structuring the data and going through this exercise is forcing us to be really honest with ourselves and really self-aware of, okay, where did we go off track here? Where did we sort of lose control over what we were, not necessarily what we were putting into market. That's still locked down pretty well, but the way we were getting into market and the different journeys. So now we're on a highway versus, back roads.
The one thing I wanted to ask you about, because I actually don't know the answer to this question. You guys are using custom notifications. What kind of notifications are you using, and how are they helping your team?
So the custom notification piece is cool. We can set certain performance bounds, and we work in verticals where we don't always have like a very clear line to sales data, like return on ad spend necessarily. We work in healthcare, so we can't track all of that necessarily, but we can set sort of proxy metrics, and what we've established are custom notifications that will flag if we get outside of the range where we think, where we tolerate, right? So if we see like a conversion rate drop off, we can quickly address it versus wait for the monthly report and say, okay, why did this drop off? Disapprovals is also huge in healthcare, so we can instantly flag those disapprovals versus waiting for the individual strategist to see that in their platform, and we can automate all those emails as well, so we get it right away.
That's awesome. Yes, you do work in a very highly regulated industry. So anyone out there that works in where you're constantly getting your ads disapproved and turned off, and then you don't see it for a few days, that is a very good notification to use. All right, so let's talk a little bit about some of the outcomes that you've had. We talked a little bit about where you're going, and with the channel expansion and bringing more channels into the automation fold, but let's talk about the capacity and how it's kind of changed the day-to-day for your folks.
I mean, I mentioned the growth of search accounts alone is so far beyond search at this point. So the Google and the teams handling Google and Microsoft ads are handling twice the amount than they were previously without twice the burnout. And that's huge for me as a leader, because that's what I'm hyper-focused on is, we can only have great performance if we have happy people who are managing those campaigns. And they are spending more time thinking about these new formats, these new opportunities, because they have some time freed up to do so. Folks aren't as scared anymore of the overspend issues, of those risks. And I think generally it's a happier team. It took them a while. I mean, there is acute pain that comes with big organizational change. But I think everyone, who got over it, I mean, they all got over it. No one's in pain anymore, but they see that it was worthwhile, and that's really exciting.
I think we should change our tagline to Fluency, helping your team sleep better at night.
I think that's cute.
I think that's cute too. We'll talk to Al about that. All right, so we've got 2 minutes left.
Unless they keep you out late at the Hong Kong.
And they keep you out late at the Hong Kong. If you want to be a Fluency customer, we will take you to the Hong Kong. Lincoln will escort you. He's back there. So a couple takeaways. And again, like whether this is this isn't like for Fluency, but you guys could like build your own automation, right? You got Claude Code now. Like if this is something you want to take on in-house, what are the things that you should be thinking about is what where's the low-hanging fruit, right? Like where's the place to drive efficiency and margin? And those are going to be the mundane tasks that they're doing 100 times a day. So identifying what those opportunities are in your business, how you can take that off of somebody's plate. On general, a strategist is spending like half of their day just making sure things are pacing or making sure there's not errors out there. That's a half a day you can give back, right? So what can you do at that time? Whether that's increasing their portfolio or time back to like learn about the new stuff that's coming out or continuing to upskill. Having a centralized system of record is going to help you ensure consistency at scale, right? So if everything is being read, the computer, right, like, because it has to be machine readable. If the machine readable is consistent across the board, you're going to be able to quickly identify where there's issues, where there's errors, and correct those. Also, having a system of record is a really great place to start with AI, whether that's portfolio-wide analysis, whether that's I've got a call in an hour with a customer and I need 3 talking points or 3 opportunities to present them with. Having that central system of record is going to really help your team get information quickly. And then just at the end of the day, when we started this mission at Fluency, it was about the people. And that will always be at the center of what we do is how do you make their lives better? How do you retain your top talent? How do you not burn people out? And how do you make their job better? How do you make them feel like they're doing that high cognition work that we all want to do to feel fulfilled and being really good at our job and not just glorified taskmasters? So if you kind of I always say, if you keep the people at the center of that, around all those decisions with AI and automation, and it's not about replacing them, it's about making them better, it's about making them more efficient, it's about making them more impactful. I think if you really always go back to that when you're making these decisions, you really can't go wrong. And I would say the last thing around the teams is identify your champions. You're going to have people in your organizations who want to do this stuff, who want to lean into what the future of advertising is, and those are the people you should lean on when you're starting these projects and initiatives to kind of help drive that forward. And I think that's it. Oh, we're out of time. Perfect.
Thanks, everyone.
Thank you.